set the pace when I'm running. I always take what I want and I always give it 100. Don't need a bank, no I'm funded. Play the game like it's nothing. I'm always thankful for something. Don't take for granted, stay humble. Now wake up! It's time to look at the enemy. Look in the mirror if he is no friend to me. It's not working out, maybe it's the chemistry. It's time to break up so I can make a better me.
Hello, Miami. Thank you so much for watching 305 Sports Now. We are on now with 305 Live. And ladies and gentlemen, this guest needs no introduction. He is the host of the famous and one of the most popular podcasts, and actually probably the most popular podcast when it comes to Miami Hurricanes football. And now he's also a part of the #1 podcasting sports network in the country. Ladies and gentlemen, the host of Locked On Canes, Mr. Alex Donno. What's up, sir? How you doing?
Well, I'm doing great, man. The intro to your show gets me so hyped. Like I want to run through a wall of some kind. Yeah, that's great, and I'm happy to be here. Thank you for the kind words, and I just can't wait till Saturday. Like we're getting close. Senior Day coming up. Must-win game.
Yes,
Every
definitely.
game's a must-win now. It's basically Miami's basically in their own playoff already, having to win all these games to try to get in. So I'm hyped.
Yeah, you know, it's funny. Before we get into the recruiting, I get asked, why do you like the Canes so much? And why does it have a different effect of you over you than the Dolphins do? And I said, well, the Dolphins could lose like 4 games and still make the playoffs. And the Canes, like you lose 1 game and it's like panic mode, you know, already. College football feels like a playoff atmosphere every single Saturday, or in some cases Thursdays and Fridays. So, I mean, so I think that's what really makes a difference for me. So I'm excited about this Saturday versus NC State. But the one thing I really want to start off the show first by discussing is what a week it's been for the Spatula, sir. For Mario Cristobal, it has been absolutely flip city. I mean, it has been incredible. Coach Cristobal has gotten, first things foremost, just gonna post on his, he's gotten JJ Dunnigan, you know, who was previously committed to Kansas. My favorite of this flip so far is DeAnthony De La Fayette, the 4-edge rusher, who we put from LSU. Keyshawn Stansel from Clemson. Of course, you know about Milan Paris. If I butcher his name, Alex, feel free to correct me. Isaac Chirawa? How do you pronounce it? How do you pronounce it?
Paris Hilton's dog is what you just did there. I mean, okay. First of all, he goes by Chuck, I believe.
Chuck. I'll stick with Chuck.
If I try it, I think, and I'm not even sure because I've never actually like heard his name pronounced by someone who I'm sure got it right. Like the only place I've heard is like I went back and found like a Penn State recruiting video from when he committed to there. And but again, I don't know if they know or if they knew, but Shakura,
there we go.
But we can call him Chuck.
I'd rather call him Chuck because I'm gonna keep butchering his name. So I think it's the best bet. But you sound so confident when you say his name on Locked On Canes. It's unbelievable. And recently
you gotta
on
lean
QAM
into
as well.
it, man. That's all you could do. You got to lean and it's like a few years ago. What was it? Do you remember the guy transferred out? But do you remember we had a player that we recruited was in the program for a year, Collins?
Yes, Achapango, something like that. The Michigan commit, and then we flipped him over here.
I was saying his name wrong for like 6 months, but I leaned into it and I said it with so much confidence that like, I mean, nobody doubted me. Like I was calling him like a champong, but then I found out it was a chiampong. And I'm like, okay, I've been saying his name wrong for 6, but you know, he's not here anymore. So I guess it's not a big deal, but yeah, as long as you say it with confidence, you sound like you're saying it right.
All right. Well, I'm going to stick with Chuck, Isaac Chuck. I think that's going to sound a little bit better for me. DeAnthony Lafayette was a great get though, because you pair him up with Ashari Charles, you know, who's another highly ranked commit, you know, in this recruiting cycle as well. If there was one word I would describe Lafayette is that he's violent. I mean, the way he rushes the passer, he's absolutely violent. Can you tell us a little bit about any film you've seen on this young man and how Miami was able to land this kid?
Yeah, I mean, great player out of the Orlando area. Impressive burst, violent. From what I understand, he's also just a really mature kid with a high football IQ. He's produced I think he's got like 40 career sacks. I think that's right for him. And I have to like double check my brain because since we landed 4 defensive players in 4 nights, I'm thinking of who I think he was the one who's got 40 sacks in his career. So he's got a ton of production from that position. In terms of Miami landing him, persistence and relationships matter. I mean, this is an in-state player. He's not a South Floridian. He's from Lake Nona in the Orlando area. But like we all know, like Miami casts a pretty wide net. Like they've got some good players from Orlando, good players from the Tampa area committed all over the country. Like they're trying to do like the old Schnellenberger, the state of Miami, which is like from Orlando down. Like you draw that line. They've landed some good players from Central Florida, and this is a player that they've liked for a while, but then you know you get a little fortunate that your persistence pays off because he was committed to LSU. LSU, of course, you know they fired the guy who recruited him a couple of weeks ago. You know, so with that coaching vacancy coming up, it creates more opportunities, which is, you know, same thing. Being able to land Chuck from Penn State, same deal. When they fired James Franklin, you know, players are going to open up their recruitment. So it's so important before guys verbally commit, and Miami staff is really good with this. It's like they do not give up. Like we've had other coaches at Miami over the years, and there's other coaches around the country who, you know, when a player verbally commits somewhere else, like you try to keep up communication, but you don't necessarily communicate with that player the same way as the guys who are uncommitted. Miami is relentless. Like you're verbally committed somewhere else, they're going to keep building the relationship, and then I think once you get that opportunity with, you know, a guy like Lafayette, who, you know, who's in a situation where a coach gets fired, you're able to then parlay that relationship that you've kept going for months, and you're able to cash in. And like you said it perfectly, Will, being able to pair him on one edge with another incoming freshman, Ashari Charles. And like, I'm not forgetting about the young guys who are already here as well, right? Because you got third Scroggins, I think is going to be a big factor. Marquise Lightfoot is going to be a big factor. So Miami's going to try to keep that edge rusher rotation deep, because everyone knows you're losing Ruben Bain and Akeem Mesidor after this season, but they got some good guys in the works. As well, the player, what was his name? Hayden Lowe, that they flipped from USC, who's injured. He's missing this entire season. He's going to be coming in like a true freshman next year, you know, injury redshirt freshman. So they're going to have a lot of options on the edges.
Yeah. Juan Monroe's big fan of all our shows. He's always commenting. He wants to know where his spatula. I know you were barbecuing the other day, so is the spatula ready?
Yeah, so I haven't brought the spatula back in here. The only thing I have, hold on.
The loafer?
I've got the loafer.
He bought the loafer.
I do have the loafer.
He's got the loafer.
The spatula is like in the sink. I haven't cleaned it yet. I was barbecuing last night with the spatula, so I'm down one of my props, but I do have the Mario Cristobal signature loafer.
Nice. Recently, Mario's reach is very national. I know we talk about the state of Miami, you know, over in Florida, but Mario's reach is very national, and we just landed a young man who I think has a lot of potential based upon what I've heard. Josh Nagel over from New Jersey, who was a Pittsburgh commit, and we know Pat Narduzzi has a good eye for D tackles. So he's very well defensive minded. Some of the concerns the fan base has is that they don't like his size. Mind you, people forget he's still in high school, so he will put on weight. But he's listed about 6'4", 285 pounds. Like how could we describe him as a player? I heard he had a high motor, but what else can you add to that?
Well, see, here's the thing. People have to think about the scheme fits as well, and you do have a couple of bigger, you know, body defensive tackles who are still going to be with the program. You know, Justin Scott is a big body guy, over 300 pounds. Ahmad Moten, I think, has another year of eligibility. He's a big bodied guy. They like to have variety with these body types for a couple of reasons. And again, like I know we get in this line of thinking, and you know, my good friend, the truth teller, he was upset about the size. He's like, how come we're not only recruiting 330-pound defensive tackles? He likes the big space eaters, right? Corey Heatherman's defense, and in the case of Damian Lewis, who coaches the interior defensive lineman, they really like the explosive, fast guys who can rush the passer from the interior. They like all of their defensive linemen to get upfield. That's the style that they like to play. And I think you want to have variety in the body types. So you want to have your your Justin Scotts and your Ahmad Motons, for certain situations. But I think they like to have fast, explosive pass rushers that are in like the 280 range. They like to have, or even in like the 265 range, because a guy like Armando Blunt, he's got the positional versatility. I think Logan Nagel has that as well, where they have the positional versatility where they can play inside or on the edges. So I think they put a big value on that. So it's like I just think we have to kind of like, in terms of the scheme fits, like we can't just expect every defensive tackle that they recruit is going to be 300 plus pounds. I think they like to have a couple of those guys, but they also really like the guys who can get upfield. Like I'm looking at some of the notes that I have on Logan Nagel. He excellent technique, for a high school player. I think he's well coached at DePaul Catholic in New Jersey. Physically dominates the line of scrimmage and has natural pass rusher ability. That's something that our staff really values, even from interior defensive linemen. And they have a few of those body types in the class already, right? But I think they like what this guy brings to the table. And this season, and also I've noticed that Miami's recruiting staff, they really value guys who have great senior tape. Not just the because there's maybe some guys who have the great senior year. It's kind of the money year where you get recruited by the Power 4 schools and then fall off a little bit. Logan Nagel is somebody who really jumps off the page in the senior year. So just this season, and his season is not over, I think he's played like 8 or 9 games. He's got 8 sacks, 19 and a half TFL, 54 total tackles, 3 forced fumbles already this season. So I think this is a good player. And you mentioned earlier at the top, if you're going to get guys who were committed to other places on the defensive line, you get guys who were committed to Penn State in the case of Chuck, because they always recruit well on the defensive line. And even with Pitt, Pat Narduzzi, like his evals, defensive line and linebackers are always stellar. Like that's, we think of how great like Mario Cristobal is at recruiting and evaluating offensive linemen. Pat Narduzzi is like that with front 7 guys. So, I know people are like, hey, that's not that sexy, flipping a player from Pitt, but in this case, I think this is a player we're going to want to celebrate here at Miami.
Listen, there's a lot of things to criticize Coach Cristobal on, but talent evaluation is not one of them. I think Mark Cristobal is very good at talent evaluation, and D. Lou's done a good job with the defensive line this year, and I do think, and I do like this pickup. I think that, and again, Pat Narduzzi does have a good eye for defense. So that's one thing I can't take away from him. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna take a short, quick break and hear from our sponsor, Fan Outfitters. And after that, we're gonna bring on our second guest. Stay tuned. Ooh, Miami! I am proud to announce that Fan Outfitters is the official sponsor of 305 Sports Now. With locations in Pembroke Pines, Davie, and Kendall, you can find the latest gear and accessories for all your favorite South Florida teams. Teams like your Miami Hurricanes, your Stanley Cup champion Florida Panthers, Miami Dolphins, Miami Heat, Inter Miami, Miami Marlins, and many, many more. So if you ever find yourself in the Pembroke Pines area, Davie, or Kendall, please stop by Fan Outfitters, the official sponsor of 305 Sports Now. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, that is Fan Outfitters, the official sponsor of 305 Sports Now. If you're ever in the Kendall area, Davie area, or Pembroke Pines area, please stop by Fan Outfitters. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm not just done with Donno, man. Now I'm bringing on a football specialist. He is the master and the founder of the jet sweep. Yes, Malachi Tony's favorite play in Miami Hurricanes offense. Coach Manny Matsakis, how you doing, sir?
Great. Well, how you doing, Alex?
Hey, Coach.
Hey, how you doing? Coach, can you raise your microphone just a tad bit? You sound a little low.
Is that better?
A little higher if you can. I just love live.
All the way up. Max it out.
Yeah, I got to hit a little. Is that any better there?
That's a little better, yeah.
That's a little better.
Okay. All right, yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah, right. Just getting all set up in a new studio here, so just in the middle of it. So good.
Oh, no. Nice, Coach. Nice. Well, Coach, you're on here because I love your quarterback expertise. You are a part of the air raid tradition, right? As well as Coach Dawson is as well. But one of the things that I wanted to talk about with you and Alex, again, like I told you before, so feel free to ask questions as well. CJ Bailey is coming back, coming back home, and it's going to be a pretty interesting matchup between the Miami Hurricanes and, of course, the NC State Wolfpack. It's going to be a nice little battle between two quarterbacks. CJ has been absolutely balling with over 19 touchdowns, including using his legs as well in the process. What are your thoughts on Carson Beck this season so far, and what are your thoughts on the maturation of CJ Bailey?
Oh boy, that's a loaded question, my man. I look at it this way. I mean, first off, thanks for having me on. I'm excited always to come on, talk a little football, and maybe a little, coach talk, basically. But for me, I mean, I look at the situation, and we talk Miami. Everything starts with the quarterback position. I mean, so let's first get into Carson Beck and where the Hurricanes, where they stand right now heading into this matchup with NC State. I mean, look, Carson Beck, one of the most talented quarterbacks in the ACC. Physically, you can't draw it up any better than that guy. He's got size, he's got arm, accuracy, and when he's on rhythm, and early in the season, you remember how he looked. I mean, quick decisions, high completion percentage. I mean, putting the ball exactly where it needed to be. Miami was rolling, and the offense looked like it had found its identity. But lately, we've seen the inconsistency show up, and it's not ability. It is totally decision-making and structure. So I watched a little video of him this morning, and when Beck plays on time, when the Hurricanes are using tempo, get him into those fast 3-4 play rhythm sequences, he looks like the guy Miami fans expected back in August. But, and this is the big one, when the pocket gets muddied and he drifts or he tries to force a ball that isn't there, that's when the turnovers start to creep in. And as I looked at it, the late read, like interception versus Clemson, the pocket drift sack against Virginia Tech, those are moments where he's got to settle down, reset his base, and trust the offense. Now, you asked about C.J. Bailey. I realize he's coming home. We flip it over to his side and say, all right, now I'll tell you something that Miami fans might not love to hear, but this might be the best quarterback the Hurricanes have faced this season. I mean, he's got 6'6", 215. I mean, the kid has NFL tools. He can stand tall. He can drive the ball into these tight windows. And he does throw with anticipation, Will. I mean, that's the thing I like. You saw in the deep route that he ripped over versus like Louisville. Right? That's a pro-level throw, and he's sneaky mobile. So, like, when the play breaks down, he does extend it. He hits that scramble left throwback strike against, I think it was Wake Forest. I saw that. It was a great dagger throw he put in there. And then, but here's the issue with him. All right, he holds the ball. All right, that the NFL scouts. I mean, people saying is he what he's doing is he's trusting his size. He waits for plays to develop. And if I'm Miami's defensive staff, I'm telling that front seven, collapse the interior, take away the runway, and if you make Bailey uncomfortable with those A gaps, right, on each side of the center, you're going to turn those into extended plays and into sacks and turnovers. So, I mean, the thing about this matchup coming up, look, it's going to come down to two things: quarterback rhythm, pocket integrity, and if Miami protects Beck and keeps him playing fast, and you'll know, just watch his footwork. That is his telltale right there. If it's clean and then he's going to get great reads, the Hurricanes will absolutely control the game. But if NC State gets early pressure, forces them into long yardage situation, now we're talking something totally different, and it's going to become a heavyweight fight. I mean, that's what I saw after about an hour of video this morning.
Right. I got a question, Coach, about the way Miami's been using Malachi Toney, like getting him more involved week by week. He's throwing passes. He's getting involved in the running game. How have you felt about that? And do you think there could even be more wrinkles, other ways to get Toney involved? Because you want the football in his hands.
Well, I think absolutely, Alex. I mean, I think that's the smart thing to do. The thing is, it's got to be within the structure of the system.
Yeah.
I know, and I don't know if you want to go there. I mean, I know that we've texted a couple times there, Will, about the situation, how it's changed early season, the play calling and so forth. But I can see that affecting the creativity. So, but if you don't want to talk about that, we won't. But I'm just sort of.
I'd actually like to hear more.
Yeah, so would I. I was actually going to talk to you about that later on, but you already brought it up,
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's like, when you know these guys, right? And you start realizing, I know Shannon, I know his mentor, and you guys really you had Hal Mummy on, right? I mean, it's one of those things, and having coached with Mike Leach all these years, the whole thing is, man, I want to say this correctly. I'm not throwing anybody under the bus. Okay, this is the whole thing. And I just want to give you like coach level insight more than as I'm looking at this right now. So like when I look at this, the shift in Miami's play calling is real. I mean, it's pretty evident, right? Any like serious fan would get it, right? It's not hard to understand why. Okay, so Shannon Dawson, naturally wide open guy, true air raid guy. Mm-hmm. He wants to push tempo, take vertical shots, stress the defense horizontally and vertically. But look, we got a head coach whose background is offensive line play. Right? He believes games are won with physicality, ball security, and control. Now, when your head coach has that identity, it always influences how calls get filtered. I'm not saying he's telling you got to do this, but think about this. Every offensive coordinator in America that works for a head coach, they all do, unless you're Mike Leach and you were the head coach at the same time, you have complete autonomy. Not many guys have that. Now, you got to work within the personality of your head coach. Now, Shannon's playbook has not changed. What's changed is the emphasis. You can see Miami leaning towards what I would call protection-based concepts. Right? Fewer developing deep shots, more ball control early downs. That's basically Mario telling the staff, don't put the defense in bad positions. Protect the football first. Now, he's not telling them what to do, but imagine you guys are sitting in that staff meeting, your coaches. This is what you're hearing. How do you think that affects a guy like Shannon Dawson?
Yeah.
Right? That's what I'm saying. There's other
and I think not to interrupt you, but this point is fresh in my mind because like my understanding is to what you're saying. I think there's a psychology to it because I don't believe that there's like an active handcuffing going on of the play calling, which some people think that's like a very popular conspiracy. Like I don't believe that's what's happening at all. But you peeled a few layers off the onion when it comes to the psychology of it.
Yeah, and I've been on enough coaching staffs. I've been the head coach. I've been the OC. I've seen all sides of this thing. And, when you've got – think of it this way. When you've got a quarterback who's had some turnover issues and you're playing some closer games, head coaches tighten the reins. Now, excluding my old friend Mike Leach. That was not our philosophy. All right. That seems to be natural, right? So you go from take the shot if it's there to a philosophy that says don't let the shot beat you, right? It's the same words, but it comes across, and it's really even the head coach doesn't realize he's doing it, but it's in his body language. It's the way you see him on the sidelines. I see him. He's not the same. I think the thing we've got to understand is the offense we saw early in the year was Shannon Dawson's pure system, fast, loose, attacking. Right? What we're seeing now is a blend. Dawson calling plays, Mario putting on guardrails on the direction. I'm not saying it's wrong. It's just two philosophies meeting in the middle. And that is really what's happening right now.
Well, look, a follow up on that real quick is because the philosophy shift also seems to at least partially coincide with Beck's 4 interception game. Do you think that like concerns about because they don't throw downfield as much as they did earlier in the year? Yeah, that goes into it as well potentially, right?
Yeah, Alex, look, think of it this way. It goes along with what we're saying. What we're articulating together here is like, look, like we had back in the old days, and I'm talking old days now. I mean, we had a kid named Cliff Kingsbury playing quarterback for us.
Mhm.
Okay. And he had one of those, it could have been 5 interception days. I think we were playing Nebraska. And you know what Leach did? He was the opposite. He said, let's turn this damn thing loose. Let's learn from what this kid's doing instead of like put him into a shell and be afraid to execute. And then we played Texas A&M and we smoked him. I mean, he had 500 yards. He goes from his worst game to let's go, and the rest of the season was great. We're not going to Orlando. We beat Clemson in the bowl game. It wasn't even close that year. But that's a decision you have to make as a coach.
So I do have a question for you, Coach Matsakis, since you brought it up. So you went from Kingsbury, who had a 5-pick game, to have a very explosive game. Beck threw 4 interceptions against Louisville, and it seems that the offense really restricted, as far as how many deep shots he could take. That's the way it looks. Like, how do you, in your situation, and pretending you're Coach Dawson, how do you handle Carson Beck in that situation that he threw four picks, and a year ago he had turnover issues?
Mm-hmm. Well, how I would handle it? Is that what you're asking, Will?
Yes. How would you handle it if you're in
All right,
Dawson's
so-
position? Yes.
Well, what I've done, and I've been through this, I mean, a few times. It happens occasionally. But the way that I respond, I realize I have to have a bigger picture than the athlete and the rest of the team, even the fans. I've got to think, well, how does this affect this young man long term? So if I go in and I don't support him and teach him, you know what? Let's look. I'm not going to rip you for this, but look, you tell me why you did this. I want to get into his mind. Oh, okay. Because honestly, we used to have a philosophy, and I believe it to my core, and it was over Mike Leach's desk. You're either coaching it or allowing it to happen. So that result of what Carson Beck did is a result of the coaching staff. That's how we would deal with it on any staff I've been on, at Kansas State with Bill Snyder, or right there with Mike Leach over the years. So it's like I would go in and say, all right, what did I do that created that result out there? It's not the athlete, it's the coaching. And I think until guys can put that aside and get their ego out of the way and understand, a great coach is a fantastic teacher. And if you're not teaching, you're going to be losing before you know it.
Yeah,
Well said.
Yeah, one thing I wanted to bring up is the fan base, and Alex hears it all the time, and so do I. We're even seeing here in the chat a little bit. A lot of fans are very angry at Dawson. They think that he's not calling a very good game this year. But first things foremost, Dawson came very highly recommended. Names that you've mentioned that we as Canes fans respect, love Dawson. Mike Leach, Hal Mummy, yourself, you're big fans of Dawson. Dana Holgerson, yes, as well. Tavon Austin, Geno Smith. Those are all individuals that like Dawson. And the one thing I have noticed, I'm sure Alex has as well, is that regardless of the game, regardless how conservative the offense may look, there's always an outlet for Carson Beck. There's always seems to be a guy open in the flat or a receiver open somewhere within a zone concept. So what would you like to say to the fan base in reference to Coach Dawson and at least some of the scheme and some of the play calling? Should it be patient and just understand that he has to go through his progressions, or do they feel that it's a combination of the coaching staff reining him in a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I would tell as a fan, obviously we started the year. I thought Miami would be in the hunt for a national title. I really did. I thought they have what it needs. But then again, you hit adversity, and how do you come out of that adversity is really what it's going to come down to. You look a year ago, Ohio State gets beat by Michigan. How'd they come out of that adversity? They won a national championship. I know those coaches at Ohio State. I'm just drawing a connection for you. I know those guys, and I realize what they do is the philosophy I just talked about. They teach. And whatever that result was out there, it was on the coaches, not on the players, because it's always about that. And I know Shannon knows that, but understand he's not the head football coach. All right. In the end, you have got to understand your head football coach is your team. Now, Mario has won a ton of games. I'm not throwing him under the bus. But sometimes a coach has to learn. Even with a guy like Mike Leach, or even with a Hall of Fame coach like Bill Snyder. I can remember in the first couple years, he was making mistakes all over the place. He would get too emotional. He would do things that, like, later in his career, steady. We would destroy teams that, we were playing up against, because I think he realized to his core you had to go back and teach. And so I would be patient that even Mario has to grow, because if you're not constantly learning and growing, I think you got to get out of the game.
Oh, I completely agree. I completely agree. One of the references I also want to address is that the offense in of itself has improved the first couple of seasons under Dawson. I have some numbers right here if I want to share with you guys. And we went through the disastrous first year of Josh Gaddis, who ended up being replaced for Shannon Dawson. And even with unimpressive quarterback play, Miami's offense ranked 25th in the nation, 22nd in yards per play. That was in 2023, right, as well. Then we know the 5-touchdown game by Tyler Van Dyke. In 2024, Miami posted the #1 offense in the country, averaging almost 44 points per game, and also total yards about 537 yards per game as well. So this offense does work. Okay, this offense does work. But I also understand that you have to have a very good quarterback, and talent plays a key role within the game as well. Alex, you've been covering the team quite a bit, for the last few years, both as a radio commentator for QM and also on Locked On Canes. What are some of the differences you've seen in terms of the play calling from last season, and the comfort the offense had within each other, and this season, comparable with Carson Beck and the much younger receivers, with the exception of CJ Daniels?
Well, I mean, Cam Ward was the ultimate difference, right? And first of all, his dual threat ability, it brings a different dynamic that, every now and then they draw up a design running play for Carson Beck, but it's not the same deal there. And just the amount of, and I believe Carson is given the same sort of autonomy that Cam had, but Cam was checking out of a lot more plays. I just think he really took more ownership of the offense and put his stamp on it. So I think, to me, and Coach Matsakis was saying this earlier, Shannon Dawson's got the same playbook. I just think that, having completely different, and this is not ripping Carson Beck. Carson Beck is very effective in what he does, but it's very different from what made Cam Ward effective. So I think the different elements that Ward brought, I think have more. I think the personnel affects the play calling more than the coach of the situation. You got the same head coach, same offensive coordinator that you had last year, just very different personnel, and the running game was a little bit different last year as well, because it was earlier in the season that Jordan Lyle established himself as the home run hitter, and Miami's not really had that, because Lyle hasn't looked like himself since he came back from injury this year. He hasn't had the same sort of explosion, and then maybe now over the last couple games, we're seeing signs that that Gerard Pringle might end up being the home run hitter, who's kind of coming on late in the season. So the running game is a little different as well, because you had, Damian Martinez was a really well-rounded back in the offense. Fletcher was a really effective power back last year, and Jordan Lyle was the lightning. You haven't really had the lightning guy until these last couple of weeks with Gerard Pringle to continue to do that. So, I mean, I think those are the big differences in the offense, right? Because the receiving core, I could argue you've got a better receiving core this year than last year. I mean, as good as Restrepo was, Tony just has, he's got that extra pop, and he's obviously very young, so we'll see how much better he even gets the coming years. CJ Daniels has missed some time. He'll probably be back this week, but he was so sure-handed. I think Cam Ward probably made the receiving core look even better than they were last year. So I just think those are the big difference. I don't think the philosophy is any different. Maybe it is a little bit because of the personnel you have, but I think it's the personnel that's made the big difference this year.
Yeah. I think personally the offense looks tighter, and I think it's because of the personnel. Yeah. Last season, I thought it was wider. We're also behind a lot too, because the defense was just atrocious. But it was a lot wider. It was a lot more wide open as well, which opened up the running lanes as well, because David Martinez had the easiest 1,000 yards I think any back could ever ask for. So I think that's the case. But to me, at least this year, again, because maybe the personnel, It just seems it seems a little tighter to me, as well. How also Elijah Arroyo, Cam McCormick, two guys that Alex and I love, as well. Two great tight ends. Elijah Arroyo recently just scored a touchdown. They're really good at blocking. They're really good at blocking. They're really good blocking tight ends, both inline and also in space. We've had some issues with Elijah Lofton missing a couple blocks here and there, and in some cases the tight end blocking as well. How important, Coach Matsakis, is it for the receivers out in open space to keep their blocks, especially in the wide receiver tunnel screens?
It's critical in that capacity, right? But understand, air raid, other than screens, there's not a lot of time spent on blocking in practice, right? So I hate to say it this way, but look, a guy internally has to be tough enough to know, even though I'm not getting the reps of, for instance, like a receiver at Army or Navy or something, right, who's blocking all the time.
Yeah.
I'm not getting those reps, but you have to put your body in the right position. And if you don't have blocking in you, we're going to train the heck out of it in drills and all that. But it's not going to happen. There are receivers out there truly, even at the highest level, believe it's not my job to block. All right. And you see it, right? Because they came up through the ranks. I'm the touchdown guy. I'm this guy. And they don't realize that. Now, I love in the air raid that screens are run, right? I mean, that's really what they're doing. I mean, they're getting the ball out there, and those guys have to be a little tougher. I mean, Wes Welker was a great blocker for us at Texas Tech, and he scored a ton of freaking touchdowns on tunnel screens. So, I think it is important that they play well. I would say without a shadow of a doubt, that's a critical part of the offense, because there's not enough run plays. Like if we just open the playbook up, it's going to be 80% pass and 20% just the number of plays. So those screens are a big piece of the run game, the way we look at it.
Yeah, and I've seen it. I have a quick question for you, Coach Matsakis. We saw some outside runs using Gerard Pringle last game. I think he was messing with the press, but Coach Dawson basically said that his offense mainly is geared to run between the tackles. You being an air raid guy, was he messing with the press, or is that true?
I can't speak for him, but I'm thinking yes. But the thing is, for me, I mean, understand, I've had experience in the air raid. I've also been in the run and shoot, two very, very pass-happy offenses. I believe that philosophically, and this is different than the air raid today, now what Shannon's teaching, okay? I believe philosophically, I want to be able to go into a game and run or throw at will. Either way. So I'm just as comfortable with coming out and rushing for 350 yards as I am for throwing for 500. I don't care how it's done. It's like I want the defense to pick their poison, right? So whatever they're doing, they're wrong. So that way we get tougher because we can run it. And I'm telling you, the biggest issue I saw in all the years of being in traditional air raid and traditional run and shoot is the defenses struggle, your defense struggles, because they're not going against that type of mentality that when you're playing an NC State, you're going to see a different, they're going to come at you. These other teams are going to come at you, and they're not practicing it. Even though it's against scout teams, they don't see it. So you have a different mentality. Some people in the old days say, oh, you can't win a national championship in those offenses because your players on defense are soft. If you look back, that is the case. So I've felt like there has to be a way where your team gets better. And ultimately, I think the glue that puts it all together is how good are your special teams, because that's where it comes together. You have great special teams, everyone's happy. Think about the great punt returners, kick returners you've had at Miami. There's some legitimate dudes. When you've got that, the whole game changes. Whole game. Offense, defense gets better.
Alex, I want you to address this question by Juan Manuel. D-Money addressed it as well on his show over at Kane's Insight, referring to the tight end blocking situation. He says, why haven't Luka Gilbert and Brock Shaw, who are much more talented than Alex Bauman in every way? Isn't NIL $300,000 Alex Bauman making? I don't know how much he's making. The Canes to really disclose that, their NIL amounts. Then he referenced Simeon Barrow, who I thought actually had a good season. But as far as
Tyler Barron, he was
Tyler Barron. Sorry, Tyler Barron.
Yeah.
Okay, Tyler Barron. Yeah, over Mesidor. Canes is kind of alluded that's not the case with Miami in several cases, because at the end of the day, the Boosters want to win. Like you're close to. Yeah. Okay. Let's ask it.
Well, here's what I'll say on that. It's like it's easy to say that Luka Gilbert and Brock Schott are more talented, and that might be true, but they're both true freshmen. Like you have to understand, like Miami is going to give the lion's share of the reps to the guys that they trust to be consistent. And I think, and I see Coach nodding his head to that. I mean, and listen, maybe Miami might be more hesitant than some other programs to throw true freshmen to the Wolves. There could be an argument to that, but you're also talking about a program that they have college football playoff type of expectations every single year. Like I think they're putting, Alex Bauman, who's a senior, by the way, on the field ahead of Brock Schott and Luka Gilbert. I think consistency and experience, I think, says a lot about why that's happening. I think that's the easy answer to that question. As far as like the Tyler Barron, Akeem Mesidor thing last year, I mean, I think a lot of that had to do with the fact that they needed to use Akeem Mesidor inside. Like they needed to deputize him as a defensive tackle. I think that had more to do with that. They were injured in the interior last year. So I think but like to answer it, and I didn't hear what D Money said. You summarized it a little bit for me, Will, but I can tell you pretty confidently that for a program that has a lot of pressure to win games and to be in the playoff and to win the ACC, they're not making decisions on who plays strictly based on NIL. It's just you can't run a program that way, and I don't believe that's what they're doing.
Yeah, I just want to piggyback on what you said, Alex. You pretty much explained the same way that D Money explained it as well. Listen, I mean, Juan Mono just brought up here in the chat. Tony, two freshmen is playing. Upshaw got some run. I know he got some run late, and he had some run with Bethune, but he's getting some run. Pringle's getting some run.
Let me say this on Malachi Tony.
As well.
I'll say this really quick on Tony. He didn't get on the field for any other reason than the guy. He's a true freshman, but since the moment he arrived in the program, he's been practicing like a junior or a senior. Like that's why Malachi Tony got immediate playing time, because he is mature beyond his years. Like in the case of Dalen Upshaw, like I'm happy we're seeing more of Upshaw now. I don't exactly know, why we weren't earlier. As far as Gerard Pringle goes, I mean, if you're going to be on the field at running back at Miami, you have to, as a true freshman, you have to have full command of the playbook, and you have to be able to protect your quarterback. You have to be able to pass protect. And I think it got to a point later in the year where Gerard Pringle now has full trust in those areas, and that's why he's playing more now. But those are things as a true freshman, you have to be able to master those before they trust you enough to put you on the field consistently.
Okay, I'm gonna troll Juan a little bit here. I love you, Juan. You're a great supporter of the show, but I don't think that Bethune is a good measure of how good Luka Gilbert really is, because everybody, I think American Heritage would have ran over Bethune-Cookman that Saturday. Okay, saying.
And he looked great. He looked great in that game. But like you're saying, Will, it's too. Like Bethune-Cookman. Those are the types of games where you get all your true freshmen on the field.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my goodness. Yeah, Joshua Moore. He mentioned Joshua Moore. He meant Ryan Moore, but Joshua Moore. Yeah, Joshua Moore's gotten some run. He got some run against Notre Dame. Yeah. He got some run against Stanford. He got some run against I think he played against Louisville as well. I'm trying to remember as well. So he has gotten some run. Like basically, what I'm trying to say is Mario is playing the young guys. Like it's not like he's just saying you're not experienced, you're not getting on the field no matter what. The young guys are playing under Mario Cristobal and Shannon Dawson. The best players are playing. And before the season started, I heard that Malachi was going to play. So that's one thing I heard. That's one thing I did hear about. Coach, before we go, you have a few things coming up. I think you should share with us, including the possibility of having a team in the future Freedom Stadium for Inter Miami. Can you please share, Coach?
Well, that's a little bit ahead of you're putting the cart before the horse. But
okay, sorry. I got excited. Okay.
We have had, the Continental Football League, which is a summer like AA level professional football league. So we're playing this next summer, and we're having a blast putting it together. I've gotten probably 5 cities in Florida asking for a team, a franchise. So, we're visiting with ownership groups and all that. But right now, the way things are structured for the next season, we will have 8 teams in the league, 4 teams in the North, 4 teams in the South. And the teams are more based, we've got right now one in San Antonio, Texas, Austin, Texas. There's another one to be announced next week and one after that, all in that region. So, but I do know that going into 2027, that there's a very good shot there'll be a whole division playing in the state of Florida. All right, because we've gotten Florida and Georgia, people from the Panhandle all the way down to where you guys are. But I think there's a ton of potential with that. And then up north, right now we've got our team, which is about an hour west of Pittsburgh. And then we've got a team in Cincinnati. Already have one other team that's coming on board, but we're not announcing them till Thanksgiving. And then we'll have 4 teams with one more. So, I mean, we're excited. The league's growing. Our commissioner is actually down in Florida. Mike Kelly is our commissioner, great coach with the Redskins, the Eagles, even was a professor of sports management at Drexel University. This guy's got a really, really diverse background, and we're hitting the ground running. Getting a lot of endorsements from leagues and the Canadian League loves what we're doing. So it's going to be fun. I mean, stay tuned. Maybe one time I can come back on and share with you some of the unique things we're doing, but it's pretty neat.
Yeah, when you start the ground working, please come on and tell us what's going on. We'd love to hear from you, especially if we're getting some football here and down in Miami as well. I think it'd be fun to hear about that as well.
Yeah, there's a good group down there, and I know, they can definitely pull it off. And the cool thing is you're playing at a time of the year when there is no competition for outdoor football. High school's not playing, college nor the NFL. So you've got a very captive audience playing into May, June, and July. You're done by the end of July. So
the big challenge would just be in Florida, just staying cool would be the big challenge that time of year.
That's a good point. Yeah, Alex. And one of the things that we're only playing night games. I mean, that's
okay. That's thing. Good. Yeah.
So that'll help.
Okay.
I've been down your way in the evening. It's awesome. And then, the other thing is we're working with, who is it? Under Armour's bringing us, they're flying the commissioner up to Baltimore to talk about uniforms, but there's a certain kind of, I don't know the name of it, but it's like very breathable material that is really light, unlike even what these guys are wearing now. That would actually help cool their bodies off, and then obviously cool zone fans on the sideline, all that stuff. But I think it'll be fun, and it will be. We're going to have a stream, a national stream broadcasting type setup that we're working on right now. So I'll get that out to you guys. It'll be sort of fun.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. Mr. Alex Donno, like I said, the hardest working man in sports broadcasting today. Mr. QAM in the morning and Mr. Locked On Canes. Seems like you're on at least once an hour a day. Anything new coming up you want to promote? And you're going to be on QAM tomorrow as well, filling in for Joe Rose, correct?
Yeah, I'm only actually doing the first hour tomorrow because I got to take my car in for some work. But yeah, I saw they're letting me off easy. Instead of 6 a.m. to 10 a.m., I'm just doing 6 to 7 tomorrow, and then I'm going to go haggle with the mechanics. They're going to try to upsell me everything, I'm sure. But yeah, so check that out tomorrow morning. And I just shortly before we started here, I just put out an episode of Locked On Canes. Talking about some of the analytics of Miami versus NC State. NC State's third down defense has been really bad. You want Miami to be able to exploit that. Talking about both quarterbacks, Carson Beck and CJ Bailey, when they're facing pressure versus when they're not. And then some other that's real. And I'm not even a big analytics guy. That was heavy lifting for me. We talked about some less heavy stuff as well. And we'll have coming up tomorrow morning. I have a crossover episode with Kenton Gibbs and Grayson Boone from Locked On Wolfpack. So we go head to head talking about all the matchups and stuff. That'll all be on Locked On Canes.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, so please do not forget, please subscribe to the Locked On Canes Network and Locked On Network as well to get some of the best content from Alex Donno, who is Hey, South Florida radio legend, absolutely. Coach Matsakis, anything new else new coming up as well? Any media handles you want to promote?
The easiest thing about the Continental Football League. Just go to COFLfootball.com. COFLfootball.com. And that is the website. You'll see the news. It sort of keeps people up to date. And if you put your name and email in there, you're going to be getting regular newsletters, and it'll be awesome.
But I want to let you know something, sir. We need the return of the Manny Matsakis show. I need to hear more stories from our Bryles. Okay.
I've got quite a people asking, a lot of people. I mean, remember, we had a few million downloads on lots of episodes. It shocked me. I was having fun.
Yeah, and I saw a photo you sent me of you and Warren Sapp. I mean, I'm sure he'd be a fun guest as well. So that should be interesting.
You want Warren on? What'd you
sure.
do on your show?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, Warren's
be
a
huge.
good dude,
How about
man.
that?
Yeah. I was. Prime had invited me to. He got my hotel room last Thursday and Friday night to come meet those guys. So a good buddy of mine is the receiver coach there, Jason Phillips, he's actually in the Ring of Honor at the University of Houston. He was a receiver. Two-time All-American consensus receiver when Andre Ware won the Heisman Trophy, and he's my best friend in football. And so I went in. We're going out, and Warren Sapp likes to smoke cigars. We're at a place called Burn, which is right where the Steelers play the stadium there. So we were out with him, and Marshall Falk was awesome. So just hanging out with guys, talking ball. They were excited about the Continental Football League, and they're all in and want to do some things. But if like I told you before, you wanted Hal Mummy, we got him. You want Warren Sapp? Let me reach out to him, and we'll see if we can get him connected.
Yes, please. I would love to have Warren Sapp on the show. I'm sure he has some great stories from his days at the U. So.
Oh my God! Oh, and here's what's funny. So they're playing. I'll leave you with this, okay? They're playing West Virginia, or that in Morgantown, right?
Mm-hmm.
That was just last weekend, and I get a call after the game. He goes, "I've never seen a crazier fan base than those freaking Mountaineers." He goes, "I've never seen. They're nuts." Right? And he goes, and they're playing. You remember the song like "Sweet Caroline"? That, right? So they play it, and then there's like at the end of each there's a segment in there, and they basically eat. SHIT Pitt.
Oh,
because they hate the University of Pittsburgh. They hate Pittsburgh. So it doesn't matter who they're playing. They're playing Colorado, and their fans were screaming at the top of their lungs when they play that song, usually around the fourth quarter. And he was like, "These people are nuts. They hate Pittsburgh." So it's like, so do the Canes. They don't like Pittsburgh either.
I always heard that, Coach, whenever, and obviously Miami and West Virginia don't play each other anymore, but they used to be in the Big East. They played each other every year. And I can't tell you how many former Miami players used to tell me that was the rowdiest road environment. They'd be throwing stuff at the players, and they'd get, like they always told me, to a man, Morgantown.
Like students would take their couches out on the porch, lighter fluid, torch them, and it's like that's just normal in Morgantown, West Virginia. It is totally different, so it is what it is. But it was I know Warren Sapp, he was shocked, let's put it that way.
Wow.
So you have to ask him about that. It'll be fun.
Oh, definitely. I for sure. Yeah, so we'll stay in contact, and so I get his information, and we can make it happen. So thank you so much, Coach, for coming on. Coach Matsakis, always some insightful information. Love your stories. And Mr. Alex Donno, thank you so much once again for coming on. I know you're a busy guy. Thank you for taking the time to come on my show, 305 Sports Now.
It's my pleasure. And great to connect with you both. Thank you so much.
Yeah, love it, Alex.
No, of course. Anytime. Ladies and gentlemen, do not forget to like and subscribe if you haven't done so yet to Locked On Canes. Again, Alex Donno is the best in the business, and the Locked On Network is the #1 sports network for podcasting. Not ESPN, not 247, not On 3, not Rivals. Locked On, baby. So you know the deal. All right. So, gentlemen, have a great evening. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the show. 305 Sports Now. God bless you guys. Thank you so much. God bless everybody out there. Have a wonderful evening. Bye.